So I'm out here walking through my local woodland trail. It's a Monday, about 2 p.m, beginning of December, and it's a glorious clear day, and the sun is shining behind me. You might be able to see it, and it's just a lovely day to be outside. I try to get a walk in every day, even if it's only a short one, but at least an hour is my preference, and it really depends on how busy I am. But this is one of my favourite places to walk. It's become a bit of a ritual of mine, purely in the service of maintaining my mental health and my fitness. And I've been involved in one sort of exercise or another for many years now. These days I mainly walk because I've got so many amazing places to walk, and I almost don't want to run and do it too quickly and get it over with too quickly. So I'm being distracted by a grey squirrel, which is actually, as cute as it might seem, is a bad sign around here, because we still have a lot of red squirrels and the grey squirrels push them out. So we tend to report them when we see them. Anyway, yeah, I've always said that my exercise regimes are as much about my mental health, if not more about my mental health than physical health. And it's more about getting outside than anything else. It's why, you know, we have an exercise bike in my house, but I don't use it. I could go to the gym, and I did for a short while, but I don't anymore, because the idea of pretending to ride a bike in a house when I'm surrounded by all this seems just nonsensical. So I don't. I leave the house every day, and it really clears my head. It gets me away from my computer and out away from people, and I can go to so many peaceful places, being blessed enough to live in rural Scotland. And I'll go out rain nor shine, and I don't really make the distinction, but because I like all weather, I just like being outside, and they all types of weather have their characteristics, and so I just like to be out. But days like today, it's hard not to appreciate the sun and the way that it's casting shadows, the way that it creates so much contrast and colour and vibrancy, and that it's so different this time of the year versus, you know, say the middle of summer, where everything I'm seeing now is sort of browns and ochres and only very sort of small or pale areas of green, whereas sort of spring and summer tends to be an explosion of green and a lot less light. And there's so much to appreciate at this time of the year. Here's a river. This is a lot more swollen than it usually is. It goes all the way down there. Like it says a tyre in there. It's really wonderful walking around here because there's always the sound of running water, and I find that really, really soothing, and it tends to drown out any other sounds you might hear. Although this is all very very peaceful around here. We're not very near any roads. There's a small airfield locally where they do parachuting, and I don't know if you can hear, but I can hear that plane circling around, and they tend to do parachute jumps when the weather's nice. Anyway, I think from a mental health perspective, at least from my point of view, this stuff is possibly the most important thing that I do, getting out and being in the fresh air. And I've always loved it ever since I was a kid, and I was brought up in the English green belt, almost countryside, but it was nothing like this. And me and my friends used to go for hours, walk for hours, and just talk about stuff, and I sort of really miss that. But I kind of need to spend a fair amount of time in my own company these days, and otherwise I just get exhausted. And but I'm not talking to no one, I'm talking to myself or you, depending on which way you look at it. I'm surrounded by sort of farmland, and over here there's a field. It's always love it when in the winter, autumn and winter, when the crops have been harvested. I'm going, look at this. It's like stepping stones through sludge, and this river is really overflowing. I mean, look at that. Beautiful. Yeah, the fields I think are quite lovely when they're, well, firstly when you see it with a crop like a wheat crop on it during the summer, and the wind's blowing that, just sends waves across it, which it's just an effect you just can't see anywhere else, and it's really quite beautiful. And but even in the winter, like it is now, I'll show you in a second. I just think it looks cool, especially in the sunshine. And look at this. Going round to the right here, I don't know how visible it is to you, but that's the highlands there, the Grampians. Crieff is the town over in that corner there. So yeah, it's one of my favourite places to come up here, because not only do you get to walk through forests and see all the sights and sounds that offers, but you get to see quite a decent panoramic view in certain places, and you sort of get to see a bit of all of the area from various points around here. And there's no one ever up here. This actual path goes to a dead end, and you have to turn around and come back, and that's partly why I like it, because not a lot of people come here, because a lot of people just prefer to do big loops, and I'm quite happy just to be up here. So I often go up to the end, and there's a wall that I can sit on, and I'll meditate and just chill and just be on my own. Here's that field again. There's so much to see here, and I just love looking at everything, like the moss here. Look how amazing that looks in the sun. These old walls have been there for hundreds of years, marking boundaries and keeping livestock in, and I'd say the deer's out, but the deers can get over pretty much anything. There's usually deers in that field. I don't see any today. Anyway, there's so much here to provide inspiration, and I often end up looking really closely at things because I really like contrast, and so things like tree bark like this really provide some stimulus from the texture point of view, and it's really lovely to touch, and I can sort of start to incorporate that type of thing into my artworks. I'll often actually pick up bits and pieces of stuff to incorporate into works. I'm working very much on things with texture at the moment. Yeah, this type of inspiration is brilliant. There's of course coming out in the sun, and this time of the year you get a bit of a vitamin D boost, which is essential since the days are so short in the winter, coming up to the shortest day in a couple of weeks. So as much as I say go out in every weather, make the effort to go out if it's sunny, and you don't have to have a reason, just go for a walk and go and experience what's around you. Not everyone's as lucky as I am to live in a place like this. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see that over there. That hill is that's our local hill. It's part of the Ochil Hill range, which stretches across central Scotland. So those are the same hills you can see around Stirling if you ever go there. And that particular hill there is called Craig Rossi. It's our sort of our local landmark, and anyone in this area who gets spun around and lost can always recognise Craig Rossi. Craig is actually a crag, so Craig Rossi actually only refers to the sort of cliffy bit right at the top. And I painted that many times. That hill, it's a bit of it's almost like a local personality. It's like an extra inhabitant, and I've walked up to the top of it, and the views are staggering from up there. So yeah, and so over one side of me at the moment I've got Craig Rossi and the Ochils. On the other side of me I've got the Grampians, which I'll show you in a minute. So this particular part of this walk is really quite something. So many different types of trees around me. I think there's a lot of oak here. See a lot of oak leaves on the ground. The ferns have all died off, but they're quite amazing this time of the year. But there's a lot of oaks in this area. So I think most of these are oaks. I can't quite tell, but it's really hard at this time of year when they've dropped their leaves. So I'll try and show you the Grampians in a sec. It's not a difficult walk, this one. It's fairly easy. Right, maybe I can zoom a little bit. So that's the Grampians over there. So if you keep going in that direction, you'll eventually, you'll go straight into the Highlands, and it's pretty much Highlands, Scotland's mountains, all the way up to the north of Scotland, up to Inverness and further north. You won't see any flat ground for very much of it. And the first Monroe, i.e. the first official Scottish mountain, the nearest one to here is just up there. Its name eludes me at the moment. It'll come to me. But there's some amazing stuff over there, and it's only about 10 minutes drive from me. And so I go up there when I can. If it's raining here but it's close to zero, it's usually snowing in Crieff and at the base of the mountains there, so I can always just go and find some snow if there's any in the area. I think it's really lovely when you can look through the trees and you've got the blue sky, the green, and the patterns it makes through the trees, and the various contrasts you get with the shadows on the trees. And here, look, it's so vibrant. I don't know if people are noticing that, people are not looking up, that they're missing all this wonderful colour and texture and fractal, chaotic patterns. I don't know what that bird is. It must be a crow. There's another grey squirrel over there, look. That's not good. About a mile away from here I'll find mainly red squirrels. And these are the most grey squirrels I've ever seen in this area. It means they're moving in. So we need to keep an eye on the red squirrel numbers. Coming up to my resting point now. I get a view of the mountains and, as I say, a bit of peace. I guess my point of this video is, get outside. This is more stimulation than I need, and tends to be, by the time I get home, despite having been exercising, I'm feeling more rested and more calm and more able, and I've got plenty of things to do, not least for this podcast and various other things, but also for other things I do for my various types of work, and I'll often do those in the evening, and when there's no daylight to miss, and so I like to carve out at least an hour in the middle of the day, after lunch usually, and make sure, especially at this time of the year, I get to experience the outdoors, and it's so lovely, and I can't emphasize enough that if you can get into your studio and or whatever space you have for making art, and I bang on about how essential that is, but this type of stuff is essential as well. You really need to make that time and to make that effort, and it's really rewarding. Right, here's Craig Rossi again. I'm a bit closer now. It's a beautiful hill. Just lights up in the spring with gorse flower, which is like a bright yellow, and it just looks incredible. And then in the winter, it gets snow on it that will last longer than anywhere else around, and it's just this huge big snow pile that presides over Octorada. Just beautiful. Right, here's my little sitting point. Like to sit on this wall, appreciate the view. Sign there saying don't feed the horses, and a big pile of rocks. I always wonder how those piles like that get there. I'm going to sit down and chill out for a bit, and just appreciate being where I am. Just a quick addendum to my previous video. You might have noticed that for most of that video I had my glasses here hanging off my coat, and I sat down a minute ago to chill out and noticed that I didn't have my glasses on me anymore. So I panicked because I only have one pair and they cost a lot of money, and I really could do with not having to replace them. Tramping back through the woods thinking, God, this could be anywhere. This place is covered in leaves and in the middle of woods, and I don't know when they fell off, and was wandering, looking around, thinking, oh God, I've lost them. And then remembered that I'd did most of this walk with a video camera pointing at me, and had the presence of mind to go back and look at which points I had my glasses and which point I didn't. And the point that I had them was just before I showed you that field, and the point that was the last point I had them on in the video. And so I suddenly knew where I'd lost them, so I hoped that they were still there, and I came back to that exact point, and here they are. So they seem to be, I must have stepped on them. Look, they're all bent. So I need to try and fix these, but at least I have them, which is a bit of a save. So there are benefits to wandering around with a video camera pointing at you, just in case you're wondering. And here's that field again, because it still looks amazing. And the grampians. So the moral of the story, always walk around with a video pointing at you. Don't lose your glasses. Bye.